Here's a recent trade I took using this key level right here. It allowed me to end the day $597 in profit with just one trade. Let me guess, you've heard it a million times. Trade the key levels, trade the key levels. But nobody ever tells you which key levels actually matter or how to actually trade them. Well, after losing more money than I like to admit, I've simplified my trading down to just 3 key levels that have been working consistently for me. VWAP, the opening range, and the initial balance. These are the same key levels I see professional traders talking about. And after testing them myself, I can see why. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I use them in my trading. Before we look at these levels, here's something I learned the hard way. Before I look at these levels each day, I check the trend first. Think of it like this. You wouldn't drive your car without checking in which direction you should be heading, right? Well, the same thing with trading. Here's what I look for on the 15-minute chart. I'm just checking if price is making higher highs and higher lows, lower highs and lower lows, or if it's ranging. This simple check has saved me from many bad trades. Let's start with the first level I look at, the opening range. This one's actually pretty straightforward. The opening range is just the range set within the first 15 minutes of the trading session. Since I trade the New York session, I simply put a line on both the high and low of the first 15-minute candle once it closes. Looking at this long, we can see that price breaks out above the opening range and then comes back down to retest the opening range's high. In this example, the opening range high is our key level, confirming that we are not taking a trade in no man's land. Off this retest, we enter off the breakout of the anchored high of the VWAP, setting the stop loss here at structure. If price goes below this structure, we would want to be out of the long. If you were in this long, you could have milked this for 19.5 points. Now, check this out. We can use the same key level for short trades too. This is one of my favorite setups. We can use the opening range on the short side as well. Once we see that price has interacted with the opening range low, meaning that it breaks down below it, we can enter in on a trade after a clear rejection of this key level and the New York VWAP. I'd set the stop loss above the previous lower high, since if price breaks out above the opening range low and the New York VWAP, I would want to be out of my shorts. When it comes to trading the opening range, I've learned a crucial lesson. Never bet that the first breakout below or above the opening range is just going to run. Keeping this in mind, it's always good to trade from level to level. If you're taking the first break of the opening range, then you want to trade from the middle of the range to the top of the range, or if you're short, from the middle of the range to the bottom of the range. Don't bet that price is just going to run after the first break. Instead, follow what I just did in this trade we just saw, where I allowed price to break down below the opening range, then come back, retest that level to show clear rejection. Off that retest, then I'll get into a short and I can go for a big move. It's very important to know that some days you just won't get a good setup. If you're the type of trader who only wants to be involved within the first hour of the day, the opening range is a perfect key level that you can play off of. You'll find opportunities to take winning trades almost every day. Of course, you'll have a day where a trade may not present, and on those days, you need to be disciplined enough to just stay flat and come back the next day. Now, let's talk about VWAP. And I'm not just using one VWAP, I'm using 3. Why? Because this triple threat combination is what gives us an edge in the market. When it comes to VWAPs, I normally anchor 3 key VWAPs. The start of day of the futures session VWAP, previous day's New York VWAP, and their current day New York VWAP. These VWAPs are used as key support and resistance levels where I can find longs or shorts. Let's take a look at this daily VWAP trade. We can see that on the 15-minute chart during the overnight session, price broke above the daily and then retested it perfectly right before the New York Open. Once seeing this, I looked on my 2-minute chart to find an entry. Since longs were clearly in play here, I was able to enter a bounce play off of the current day's New York VWAP on the 2-minute chart. This was the best trade that presented this day, as we can see that we were able to catch a huge move. This would have been one of those trades where you would need to take your family out to Fogo de Chao.
Oh God, it's so good.
Now let's look at this trade playing off of the New York VWAP as our key level. By looking at the 15-minute chart, we can see that sellers have been in control all pre-market. Prices stayed below the previous day's New York daily and New York VWAP to the very moment we enter the trade. This is why I am looking for a short. In order to properly play the low of day breakout play, I need to see a nice pullback to the New York showing that sellers are clearly rejecting this key level. Once I get this, I enter short off of the low of day anchored VWAP breakout. My rule is if price is cutting through the VWAPs and not respecting them, I will not play these key levels. Now we come to the third and final key level, the initial balance. Think of it like the market's morning coffee. It sets the tone for the entire day. The initial balance is the range of the first hour into the New York session. An easy way to mark off these key levels is by using the 1 hour chart and marking off the high and low of the first candle in the New York session. We can also use this to dictate a bias since price tends to only break one side of this very large range. In this final trade, we can see on the 15-minute chart that price pre-market was mainly bearish since it has been below the daily right up to before the New York session. After breaking below the previous day's New York VWAP, buyers stepped in and brought price back up above the previous day's New York VWAP just in time for the New York Open, where we also broke back above the daily for the first time since overnight. That was a mouthful. Patience is what allowed me to make money here. I avoided all of the confusing mess in the very beginning. Let buyers showed me that they had control, and then I took an entry off of the 2-minute chart, playing the initial balance high as my key level. Then taking a high of days anchored VWAP breakout play, riding price to yesterday's high where I took profit. Now you know the exact 3 key levels I use every day in my trading. But here's the thing, knowing these key levels is just the first step. What really matters is how you combine them. As you've seen, the real power comes from reading the trend first, waiting for clear level reactions, having patience for the perfect setup, and most importantly, staying out when things aren't clear. If you found this video to be helpful, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. If you struggle with reading price action, I strongly recommend checking out this video next, where I go in depth about how to identify a trend and just read what price is doing. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.